Hello and welcome to our West Coast Today podcast with me, Kathy Griffiths.
Me, Owen Wild.
Me, Sandy Neal.
And me, Fiona Scott.
Here's just a taste of some of the many stories from our West Coast appearing in this Thursday's Oban Times and Lochaber Times and on our one-stop website www.westcoasttoday.co.uk. If you have more stories you'd like to tell us about and photos to share, why not get in touch with us by emailing editor@obantimes.co.uk or editor@lochabertimes.co.uk or contact us through our socials. Picking up the phone is also an option. You can give us a call on 01631 568 000. First up today is Owen. Owen, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Kathy. Well, Pudsey Bear himself was in the bay this week as part of a circumnavigation of the UK raising funds for children in need and children's mental health. The iconic mascot sailed into Kerra Marina aboard the Big Bear before sailing north to Tobermory, where the crew stayed at the Mish and Pudsey even had a game of pool. Oban Pride's chairperson was in Brazil for Sao Paulo Pride earlier this month. The world's largest Pride event celebrated its 30th anniversary, and chairperson Kevin Kane was there to officially represent Scotland. He even made it onto Brazilian TV. And today is the big day, Scotland's final game of the World Cup group stage against record winners Brazil. A point should confirm passage to the next round, and there are plenty of local people who will be over there to watch it. We've spoken to some of those lucky enough to be amongst the Tartan Army takeovers of Boston and Miami, which you can see in this week's paper. And finally, it's a double victory this week for Oban Camanachd, taking home both the McQuiston Cup for the under-17s and the Glasgow Celtic Society Challenge Cup, the latter their fourth in a row.
Thank you, Owen. Tartan Barmy, that's one way of summing up a story I've been working on this week. Football fever has well and truly kicked off in Benderloch and has got bosses at Bear Scotland all hot under the collar, demanding that World Cup flags are removed from lampposts in the main street, claiming them to be a distraction to drivers trundling through the new 20-mile-per-hour zone. Read our story in the OT or online at www.westcoasttoday.co.uk to find out how the village, branding Bear as petty, have responded. I've also been chatting to an Oban couple travelling 500 miles on buses with their pet Westie to raise funds for repairs at the town's parish church and to get it a new sound system. A quick plug here as well for Lismore, where the community hopes to take ownership of the cathedral church this Thursday with a special weekend to celebrate. A Lismore Glory Flower Festival theme is going to be happening at the church on Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m, Saturday, Sunday, as I said. And there's going to be a recital by the renowned Mary Campbell from 3 to 4 on the Saturday, and an old-fashioned ceilidh from 8 p.m. with cake, oh my word, on the Saturday as well. And then on Sunday, Sandy, you're going to correct me on this. How do we say St. Moloa?
I believe so. I think in Gaelic it means my light.
There we are. So a special St. Moloa Saints' Day service at 2:30 on the Sunday, jointly with Appin Parish. So loads going on. Go join them if you can. Fantastic. Sandy, what have you got for us?
Well, thank you very much, Kathy. Well, islanders are split over plans to build up to 147 offshore wind turbines west of Colonsay. Supporters welcome the community benefits from renewable energy, but opposers are concerned about industrialisation and risks to tourism. Extra staff have been taken on to keep 8 holiday parks in Argyll operating and ready for sale, administrators reveal in a new progress report. An ultra runner from the Isle of Barra is attempting to run the length of the Hebridean Way in record-breaking time this week. And Gaelic singers and musicians from Ardgour, Morven, Sunart, Moidart, Ardnamurchan and Mora, and beyond, gathered for the Ardnamurchan Mod, celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. As Gaelic has ebbed and flowed like the tides over the last century on the west coast, in this land of mountains and sea on Britain's westernmost edge, it is definitely on the surge. You can read all about it and lots more in this week's papers and online at www.westcoasttoday.co.uk.
Thanks, Sandy. Fee, what's been happening over in Lochaber?
Oh, thanks, Kathy. A campaigner against the possible creation of an AI data centre in Fort William has blasted the suggestion. Debbie Carmichael claims that the Scottish Government are plotting to cover the country in environmentally harmful projects, branding the latest proposals as absolutely deplorable. The company behind the original report, identifying Carr's Corner as one of 12 possible locations, has said that any further action would be nothing to do with them. And we've got football fever here up in Lochaber too. By the time this week's paper comes out, we'll know our country's fate at the 2026 Football World Cup, and Lochaber residents have been among the thousands of Scots who travelled to Boston in support of Steve Clarke and his men. One family came across a young Bostonian wearing a Fort William Women's Football Club top, while a promising young Lochaber boxer not only got to witness the Haiti win, but ended up in the ring with an Irish Commonwealth Games hopeful and an Olympic boxing coach. You can read all these stories in full and more in this week's Lochaber Times, or why not jump over to www.westcoasttoday.co.uk, where you will find news and features from all our titles here on the West Coast. Back to you, Kathy.
Thanks, Fee. Well, you've just heard from Fee how you can read our stories, but of course you can also get this podcast, which is available now on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you usually get your podcasts from. Just search for the West Coast Today podcast in the service of your choice. Thanks for listening, and it's bye from me, Kathy Griffiths.
Bye from me, Owen Wild.
Bye from me, Sandy Neal.
And bye from me, Fiona Scott.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, hey.